All right, ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to be exploring how AI is being used to unlock the secrets of biology, specifically by fusing different types of data. We've got a whole stack of research papers, excerpts from books, presentations, all about how AI is changing the game in bioinformatics.
It really is a fascinating field that's moving so fast. There's huge potential here to totally reshape how we understand life and approach healthcare.
So let's start with multimodal data fusion. What is that and why is it such a big deal?
Well, you can think of biological data as this giant jigsaw puzzle, right? And all the pieces are scattered around. You've got pieces from genomics over here, proteomics over there, imaging data, all these different things. Multimodal data fusion is about putting those pieces together to see the whole picture.
I see. So instead of looking at these isolated bits of information, we're trying to get a panoramic view.
Precisely. And that lets us see the connections, the interactions that we might miss otherwise. And that can lead to all sorts of amazing things like more accurate diagnoses, personalized medicine, maybe even new drug discoveries.
It sounds pretty revolutionary. One of the books we dug into, Multimodal Data Fusion in Bioinformatics, really charts this whole progression. It's by Dr. Umesh Kumar Lilhor.
Ah, yes. He does a great job of tracing the evolution of the field over the last several years. Like if you look at Table 1.1 in his book, it shows this clear shift from, those basic fusion algorithms to much more sophisticated applications of machine learning and deep learning.
So the technology is getting smarter, more powerful, but the book also mentions some hurdles, right? What kind of challenges are researchers up against?
One of the biggest is just integrating all that data from these wildly different sources. I mean, it's like trying to blend recipes written in completely different languages. You need some way to make sure it's all compatible and standardized.
And I imagine the sheer volume and complexity of the data presents a whole other set of challenges.
Absolutely. Scalability is a big one. Then there's the issue of making sure the results are interpretable, that we can actually understand what the AI is telling us.
And of course, we can't forget about security and privacy, especially when you're dealing with sensitive health information.
You're absolutely right. Protecting patient data is absolutely crucial. We need incredibly strong encryption and access control to prevent any kind of unauthorized access or misuse.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of this whole new era of automated machine learning, or as the cool kids call it, AutoML. And a lot of our sources point to bioinformatics as like the perfect playground for this technology.
It makes sense, doesn't it? AutoML can streamline the whole process of building machine learning models, which frees up researchers to actually, interpret and analyze the data.
So it's kind of like having a super efficient lab assistant who's crunching all those numbers, fine-tuning algorithms, so the scientists can focus on the big picture.
Exactly. It's about automating the tedious stuff so humans can focus on what they do best, making these breakthroughs, discovering new things.
Now, in one of the articles we read, Table 2.3 breaks down all these different ways AutoML is being used in bioinformatics. Everything from predicting protein structures to personalizing medicine. It's pretty remarkable.
It really is. We're talking about things like diagnosing diseases earlier and more accurately, or maybe speeding up drug discovery. The possibilities are really exciting.
It all sounds almost too good to be true. But I have to ask, are there any downsides to using AutoML in this field?
Well, biological data is notoriously complex and noisy, right? And even though these AutoML tools are super powerful, it's still really difficult to create models that are both accurate and interpretable.
I see. So we still need that human expertise to make sure the models are actually making sense in the real world.
Exactly. It's like having a self-driving car that can navigate a city flawlessly but still needs a human driver to make sure it's safe to handle those unexpected situations.
Great analogy, especially given the whole ethical side of things. When you start using AI to make decisions about human health, there's a lot to consider.
No doubt about it. Finding the right balance between automation and human oversight is crucial, especially in a field as sensitive as healthcare.
Well, since we're on the topic of AI, why don't we shift gears and dive into the world of deep learning? Neural networks, GANs, all that cutting-edge stuff that's making waves in bioinformatics.
Deep learning has this incredible knack for uncovering those complex patterns and relationships hidden within biological data. Imagine a detective painstakingly piecing together clues to solve a case. That's what these deep learning algorithms are doing with biological data, uncovering connections and insights we might miss completely otherwise.
I'm particularly fascinated by the use of autoencoders and VAEs. They're like these special tools for creating multimodal embeddings, which sounds incredibly complex.
It might sound complicated, but the basic idea is to simplify the data without losing important information. Think of it like condensing a giant novel into a concise summary, but keeping all the key plot points.
Oh, that makes much more sense. So it's like creating a more manageable version of the data so we can actually analyze it.
Precisely. It allows us to use simpler machine learning techniques to tackle those complex multimodal datasets, and the results are pretty impressive.
Speaking of impressive results, several of our sources really zero in on how deep learning is being used to classify diseases, like Parkinson's.
Oh, yes, there's been some really interesting research on that front. For example, tables 4.3 and 4.4 in those research papers we looked at, they show how machine learning models are being used to differentiate between Parkinson's patients and healthy individuals.
And they're using data from all sorts of places, like the UCIML repository and the Parkinson's Progression Markers Initiative.
The accuracy rates are really promising, and what's even more exciting is the potential for early diagnosis. I mean, the earlier you can detect the disease, the better the chances of successful treatment, right?
Absolutely. It's like having this incredible power to spot those subtle patterns that human doctors might miss.
It really is, and it opens up all these possibilities for developing targeted therapies, maybe even preventing diseases altogether.
So it seems like deep learning is really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in bioinformatics. What's next on our journey through this constantly evolving landscape?
Well, now we're stepping into the future, looking at emerging trends like federated learning and reinforcement learning. It's a whole new frontier where AI is really starting to blur the lines between science fiction and reality, you
I
know?
love it. Let's dive right in.
So, federated learning is pretty amazing, because it really tackles one of the biggest roadblocks in using AI for healthcare, data privacy. It lets you train those AI models using data from tons of different places without actually like sharing the data itself.
So instead of putting all that sensitive information in one central location, you're basically sending the model out to learn from the data where it lives?
That's it, and it just brings back the knowledge, not the data.
That's brilliant. Like a traveling scholar, right? Visiting different libraries, absorbing knowledge from all these books, but never actually taking any of them out of the library.
Perfect analogy. And you can imagine how this could be a game changer for research. No more data silos, everyone can collaborate, and discoveries happen faster.
Definitely. Our sources seem really optimistic about the potential here, talking about creating these more robust AI models, drawing on these massive diverse data sets, but without sacrificing privacy.
It's a win-win, really. And then there's reinforcement learning. Have you heard much about this one? It's a different approach, but super powerful.
I've heard a little bit. It's about teaching the AI through trial and error, right? Like training a dog, reward the good behavior, discourage the bad.
Exactly. So in bioinformatics, this means we can train these models to make smart decisions, in complex situations. Things like predicting how a disease might progress or figuring out the best combination of drugs for a particular patient.
So it's not just relying on what it's already learned from the data. It's constantly learning, adapting, getting feedback, and adjusting its strategies.
Precisely. Imagine playing chess against a computer that learns from every move you make. It just keeps getting better and better.
A little intimidating, but definitely exciting to see how this could be applied to personalized medicine, tailoring treatments based on individual needs.
That's one of the most promising areas. Think about it. Treatment plans that evolve over time as the patient's condition changes.
Incredible. Well, enough with the theory. Let's talk about how all this is actually being used to solve real problems. I mean, what are some of the tangible ways AI and data fusion are already impacting healthcare?
Well, one area where we're seeing amazing progress is drug discovery. This is a process that's traditionally been, slow and expensive. Often it seems like a total shot in the dark.
And AI is changing that.
It's a total game changer. Instead of relying on chance, you can now analyze these massive data sets of molecular structures, biological pathways, all sorts of information to pinpoint promising drug candidates.
Like an AI-powered detective sifting through mountains of evidence to find that one clue that cracks the case.
I love that, and it's especially crucial for diseases like cancer, which have been notoriously difficult to treat with those traditional methods.
And it's not just about developing new drugs. I know a lot of research is focusing on early disease detection, too.
Absolutely, because we all know the sooner you catch a disease, the better the chances of successful treatment. AI is phenomenal at spotting those subtle patterns in medical data, things that human doctors might miss, like having a second set of eyes constantly on alert.
I read about an algorithm that can analyze brain scans and detect signs of Alzheimer's years before symptoms even appear.
Oh yes, that's an incredible study. Such a powerful example of what's possible when you combine AI and data fusion. It gives us this window of opportunity to intervene, maybe even slow down the progression of the disease.
It's mind-blowing to think about what this could mean for healthcare in the future. Diseases caught early, treatments that are personalized and effective, maybe even prevention strategies.
We're moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach to medicine towards a truly individualized understanding of health. Treatments based on your unique biology, your lifestyle, everything.
It's a whole new world of possibilities, but of course with all this power comes great responsibility. How do we make sure these technologies are used ethically, for the benefit of everyone.
Well, it all comes down to transparency, doesn't it? I mean, we need to make sure these AI models are understandable, not just to the experts, but to the patients, too. People need to know how these decisions are being made, especially when it comes to their health.
Right, it's about building trust and making sure everyone feels empowered by these advancements, not intimidated.
Exactly. We need open conversations, collaborations between researchers, doctors, policymakers, everyone really. It's a collective responsibility to ensure these technologies are developed and used in an ethical way.
Now, I know some of our sources also touch on those other emerging technologies that could play a role in this whole data fusion revolution. Things like blockchain, the Internet of Things. It's getting kind of sci-fi, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And blockchain is a fascinating one, especially for healthcare. It's already making waves with cryptocurrency, but its real potential lies in creating secure, transparent, tamper-proof records.
So when it comes to sensitive medical data, it's kind of like the holy grail, right? No more data breaches. Patients have complete control over their information.
Precisely. And imagine what that means for data sharing between different healthcare providers. Seamless collaboration, better care for everyone.
And I know blockchain is also being explored for clinical trials, which makes sense. You want to make absolutely sure that data is accurate and reliable.
Absolutely. Data integrity is paramount in medical research. Blockchain could really streamline the whole process, making those clinical trials much more efficient, which means getting new treatments to patients faster.
Now let's talk about the Internet of Things. It's already transforming our lives in so many ways, but what about healthcare? Our sources seem pretty convinced that IoT is going to be a big part of this data fusion puzzle.
Think about it. Wearable sensors tracking your vital signs 24/7, sending that data straight to your doctor. It's like having a constant health checkup, allowing for proactive interventions, truly personalized care.
It's almost like having a virtual medical team with you all the time, analyzing your data, making sure you're staying healthy.
And when you combine that real-time data with things like genomic information and electronic health records, well, that's when things get really interesting. You can start to develop treatment plans that adapt in real time based on individual needs.
We've talked about AI, blockchain, IoT. It's like a perfect storm of technology coming together to transform healthcare. And there's one more we need to mention, quantum machine learning. Our sources seem pretty excited about its potential.
It's definitely the wild card, the next frontier. Quantum computing is still in its early stages, but the potential is enormous. We're talking about problems that are simply impossible for traditional computers to solve.
Like simulating complex molecular interactions at an atomic level. Or maybe finally cracking the code of our genes. It's incredible to think about.
We're talking about developing completely new drugs, personalized therapies with fewer side effects, preventive strategies based on your unique genetic makeup. It's a whole new era of medicine.
It's mind-boggling, really. But as with any new technology, there are those cautionary tales, right? Our sources seem to stress that we need to be careful, thoughtful about how we proceed.
Absolutely. We need to make sure these advances benefit everyone, not just a select few. Access, equity, these are crucial considerations. And of course, we can't forget about the ethical implications. We're talking about incredibly powerful tools, and they need to be used responsibly.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. This deep dive has been a wild ride, but incredibly insightful. We've explored the immense potential of AI and data fusion in bioinformatics, but also the critical need for responsible development and deployment.
It's an exciting time to be alive, that's for sure. The future of healthcare is being shaped right now, and it's up to all of us to make sure it's a future we can all be proud of.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those brains buzzing.